I'm Sandy Schreck, and today we're here with Lembush Roses Educates. Looking at Design 101, our topic today is going to be balance. It's a principle of design that's defined by a state of equilibrium. And within the design, it can be actual equilibrium or visual equilibrium. Actual equality has to do with the physical nature of the flower. Or the design, the composition. So the weight of a flower doesn't actually make the arrangement tip over. Or as you're placing a flower in a design, that it's not leaning to one side or the other. That talks about actual physical balance. The other one is visual balance. And visual balance is achieved by blending those elements of color, can achieve visual balance from one side of a design to another, or the size or elements that you have. So those design elements combine to create a visually pleasing state of equilibrium. So once again, it doesn't feel heavy on one side as you look at it. So it can be actual or visual. Another two types of balance are symmetrical and asymmetrical. Symmetrical balance is like a mirror image. So as you would divide your face down, you're hopefully the same on both sides, but that would be like a symmetrical balance. When we're talking about symmetrical balance with flowers and floral design, doing a mirror image is not as easy as it sounds. And when we go, we want to take into consideration the whole flower. And so here you can see we have two roses, and the symmetrical balance would be not achieved by using these two stems like this, because you can see the dominance that gets added by not cleaning up the foliage on this one and having a clean stem on the other rows. So these two could be placed in an arrangement, right, symmetrical, straight across from each other, but yet would not achieve that symmetrical balance because of the shape of the stem and the dominance that the leaf adds. Another flower that we could look at that's really popular right now is the protea. And here you can see I ordered two protea thinking I was going to be able to do a symmetrical design, but they came in two different sizes. So on that, with it being the same flower and the same style foliage and everything, I can't achieve a symmetrical design utilizing those two stems in. So they're much better suited to an asymmetrical design. As we look at patterns in nature, we definitely see the symmetry in foliages, on how it comes across. But as you would look at a couple of them, on thinking about balance in your design, one of these leaves is going to be more dominant than the other. So by utilizing these two leaves in a design, it would essentially have to become an asymmetrical design. So where it's unequal on both sides, and more of an informal style of balance. So what we're going to do is take a look. This is one of the new design styles that we see happening in weddings a lot right now, this more informal balance. And it is a little bit hard to achieve. And so I even struggle with myself. And so we're just going to take a look at making one of these arrangements and just talk through some of the elements as I'm making this design, those balance, that add that balance. So I'm starting with the Midnight Foam, trimming my edges here, and then I'm going to come in with the Cottonous Green and form my frame. So for me, the most difficult piece on this is to not have that really strong focal in the middle that I kind of start with. But I'm still going to develop some lines. If you watch some of our other videos, in this case, I do have my foam up about 1 inch over the edge of the container, and that's because I'm going to be doing some side insertions on this. We just come in. When I'm doing an insertion that I know has the potential to twist, or I'm going to do a real long piece, I'm going to come in and I'm going to put a little bit of a flat edge on that, so that when I do insert it, I know by the time it gets to the customer, it's still going to be in the same position that I had it in. So I know we've had, I had a number of people kind of question on how to do this style, and for me it's a challenge as well, just because it's a little bit different than what I learned. The beginning doesn't make it wrong or right, but it's just a little bit more informal. So it's definitely a style that lends itself to that asymmetrical balance, where it's not going to be the same on both sides. So you can see here we have a little bit heavier, but what I did is balanced it out. I've got a piece from the bottom that I brought in over here to add a little bit more visual weight. Next, we're going to come in. The next element on this is to get that kind of center very low. And today we're going to be using some of the rubrum lilies. I'm going to place those first because they kind of go different directions. I want to think about them maturing and having the visual weight be distributed throughout the design. And then we're going to come in with some snapdragons. And here I'm going to use the white snapdragon that will pull into my container. So has a little bit more visual weight, and we'll just look at the difference of using the burgundy snaps versus the white snaps. With the snap being phototropic, I know that this is going to curve up, so I've kind of taken that into account in my placement. So that's why I have my foam a little bit more extended out the side, so that I can get those pieces to go up. All right. Let's only have 3 of these. So we're just going to come with those out over here. So you can see that white is going to be very dominant, and I'm going to come out over in here with some stock that are similar color to the interior of the rubrum, but this design style kind of is groupings of product, but a little bit less formal than what we normally see. Come in over in here. And the other thing I see that it's extended beyond what we kind of feel is the normal parameters of design. We're seeing this style bouquet and in wedding work a lot, but it's also coming into our basic design work as well. Next we have some scabbiosa and some ranunculus, and then also some lysianthus. And so I'm going to kind of distribute those throughout, thinking about depth, and so not such a tight design. And that's where we've had those cube designs for a number of years that have been compact design, and people are looking for that more that loose open style. Now here you can see we've balanced out the Veronica in with some of the lysianthus and brought that together. So similar colors, different flowers, creating that balance, but yet creating interest. Then on this side here, so I've got the stock in that rich color, and I'll come in with some of these scoops in this raspberry scabbiosa here. And coming out with those back on that side there. And then, so what we need to do is kind of, one of the things that I would recommend investing in is a turntable. So that you can kind of see, this is something that you need to kind of keep turning around and see the different aspects. And I'm going to come in with the ranunculus coming forward, and then that kind of gives me a triangle of color, of that rich deep color, to keep your eye moving through the design. And we'll add just a couple of those up in here. Come down a little bit lower. It's hard to keep that middle low for me. It's just, and I know that there's other people that struggle with that too. It kind of feels like, oh, I need something in there. Next we're gonna come in with some of the status. And as I said at the beginning, we use the midnight foam, and that is gonna allow me to be able to not have to cover up that foam. You can see it kind of disappears as a shadow within that design. We can come in and add some aganis, this here, and on this, what I'm gonna do is come in and take a look right there so I can keep it on the strong stem and have it be an efficient insertion on some of these side shoots. What I'm gonna do is layer those together and make that one insertion. So that way I'm being efficient with my labor. If I can keep it on the strong stem, is gonna be the fastest. And so that we can make sure we have designers that are using their time wisely. Efficiency equals profitability, right? So you want to just make sure that you're utilizing, keeping it on that strong stem so that you can increase your speed. Comment. Then we have a couple of roses that we can come into. And what we're gonna do is, rather than, we wanna keep this all out in here, and I don't really wanna add that really, really strong focal. Part of this design is that it just kind of keeps your eye moving throughout the design. So those roses, adding the value, but I want you to kind of have to go in and find them. And the white color from the lily is gonna bring in that area of dominance and the focal area here. Now we just want to take a look at the balance on this versus, so you see the white out in here, how much more dominant that is with the color. And here you see it done with the burgundy snaps. And so then this burgundy snap becomes a lot less dominant. So it's not only the actual flower, you have to think about what the colors they are, how they act, something like this. So we're gonna come in and bring in a couple of the grasses here. You can see I laid those two together, kind of tiered them up so that way I can do one insertion and be efficient on that. But we're just going to kind of come in and do a little bit of sheltering through the middle and add that more wild aspect through there. Just take one more look. So we have a little bit of the side shoots of the cottonness, and I'm gonna add one there. And then I kind of just have shadows in, and so I'm more just gonna add a little bit of green to the outside here versus really coming in and doing a heavy coat onto my foam. But this is just a look of kind of more asymmetrical balance, where things are not the same on both sides. Taking a look at that new design style that's more of a loose open garden style that we see popular in bridal work and now coming into our home decor. And so this was just a little bit of a talk through on balance in your design. Make sure you invest into a turntable, or as you're making your designs, make sure you're turning them so that they're not falling over, and achieve that visual and actual balance in your design, and really please your customers, showing your level of design work and taking on some new challenges and new design styles. I'm Sandy Schreck for LBR Educates.